I don't know any comedian who hasn't been influenced or thrilled, at least, by the slouch, the famous leer, and humor of my next guest, the original, the great Groucho Marx.
Disregard me as one of your sons.
Oh, I'll do my best. How are you?
Your best is not good enough, but go ahead with it anyhow. Now, what are we going to talk about
You took
for
a
the
very
next 3 days?
circuitous route getting here. You went all around the camera and bothered the cameraman.
I tried to delay seeing you as long as possible.
Oh, I see. Well,
I know you just come from Washington,
yeah.
and there's a couple of fellas down there we should come with you.
Oh, is that so?
Yes.
You haven't lost any of your sweetness.
No, I haven't.
Say,
How was it down there?
well, it was
Did
raining.
you get anything to eat?
Yeah.
Well, it's raining here. You didn't have to go to Washington for that.
No, true.
It's raining violets here, too.
Sounds like a song. Maybe we ought to work on that.
It's at MGM, yes.
I heard that you went to
Before-
the theater last night and saw yourself. So, have you ever
Don't
seen?
change the subject. What did you have to eat in Washington?
A couple of shrimp. Some.
Anyone I know?
No, but a couple of meatballs asked about you. That's your style. You see, I never would have said that if I hadn't heard you talk that way.
Mm-hmm.
You've influenced a lot of people.
Yeah. That's kind of ironical that you sit here and pull a bad joke and then blame me for it.
It's hard to know which is the good side of you, talking to you.
It's the one I'm sitting on. How are you?
Well, no, all right, I think. You've got me a little off.
Now that we've gotten past the meatballs, what did you have to
And the
eat in
amenities.
Washington? You did make a trip there. You flew there, I presume. Huh?
Yes, I did. I took a plane down and...
Did they serve food?
They served food. That was not the main event, but there was some food, and there was a very nice spread of things
Spread
to eat.
anyone I know?
Now, I'm going to just carry on through this. There was
You went to a sit-down dinner at the White House?
No, it was a stand-up. See, the I don't mean it was a
She thinks
stand-up.
he's Spanish and is going to relate everything in the different terms. Now, what did you have to eat?
There was an evening of entertainment, and after that, there were eats.
Food?
I don't know
They
if you...
didn't feed the actors?
No, come to think of... Yes, the actors were free to mingle with the ordinary people.
That's
they're-
unusual.
Teriyaki.
You know,
there
in
was-
some towns we used to play, they used to hide the daughters when we came to town. This is true with Five Brothers.
Tell me more about that.
Well, you know, the show business, people in show business didn't have a very high reputation
No.
years ago. And it isn't like it is today, where everybody gets divorced every 2 years. You know, I understand also people who are not in show business get divorces occasionally.
I
Did
didn't
that ever
realize
occur to you?
Oh, sure. But show business people have the reputation for being the most divorced.
Well, that's only because most of them are press agents, and they're very proud of this.
So.
Now then, what did you have to eat at the White House?
Teriyaki.
I thought that was an actor who was there.
No, there was some teriyaki. There was some. There were
You mean
shrimp,
like
there were-
karaoke, you mean to Old Virginia? I mean, was it that kind of a song? Please, no mourning. This is all free here. Just wait till you get outside if you want to snare at us. We'd like to have dinner, too, you know.
I have a bad memory for food. I really don't remember. There were an awful lot of things on the table, and one was free to pick here and there.
Do you have a bad memory for the fair sex, as it's sometimes called?
For the fair sex?
Yes.
In a sense, I do. I mean, do you
The
mean
fair
have I ever-
sex today is the male sex, you know.
It's getting fairer.
Yes, it is. No, they're getting more unfair. Say, I read an item about that in Russell Baker's column. I think it was yesterday's New York Times.
Mm-hmm.
It said that the women are belligerent. They want to take over. They want to reverse the positions of the... I don't mean... You
No,
know.
of course not.
I mean, the substance was that they would like the men to stay home and take care of the children and do the housework.
Women's
No,
liberation.
no, not. But not exclusively. They feel that they should do it too. That
Why do you
raising
use your hands? You're not Jewish, are you?
about as Jewish as you are.
That's an excellent answer.
No, but
Would you mind if I jot that down?
go right ahead. You may want to use it sometime.
We have to. Oh, I have news for you. We have a message, and we will be back right
From
after
who?
it.
Western Union?
I have no idea.
Everyone says I love you. The cop on the corner and the burglar too. Preacher in the pulpit and the man in the pew says I love you.
Horse feathers, yeah. How many know what movie that was from? Horse feathers? Horse feathers, right.
This is true.
If the duck came down, we
Did
could
you-
give that man something.
No, but I'd eat the duck if I had it here. I haven't eaten in some time.
You know, I've always wanted to be in a picture with Groucho, and I never. The closest I've made it is playing his mother in a musical.
How does he feel about you being his mother?
How do you feel about me being your mother?
Well, I haven't felt you in some time.
Let me.
You know, I once made a famous remark. I said, a man is as old as the women he feels.
Well, if it wasn't famous then, it is now.
Yeah.
The boys have to
A little
go.
intellectual for that crowd out there.
I wouldn't say that.
No, but I would, because you're here every night and I'm not. I can escape by tomorrow.
Would you like to meet the young men who play your brothers and
I
yourself?
only like to meet about 3 of them who are talented.
That's
No,
a
they're all
wonderful
wonderful.
introduction for them.
There is one that plays me that is so much better than I ever was in the movies that I was embarrassed when I watched the show last night and saw this fella. I said, why the hell wasn't I that good?
Really?
This is true.
Why don't you tell him that to his face? He's coming out now. And
I
so
don't
are
know
the
whether
others.
he'll turn that in that direction.
Well, we'll take a chance. Here are Louis J. Stadlin, Daniel Fortis, Irwin Pearl, Alvin Kupperman, and Gary Rusher, who are the Marx Brothers on Broadway.
That's as crummy a looking crowd as I've ever seen.
Do
How
we
can
have a book with a picture of the real Marx Brothers? We had one. I don't.
Gee, I don't know. Maybe
They look.
we don't have it right now, but
Look in the garbage can. You may
which of you is Groucho, so to speak?
this one.
Yeah, you're
You ought
Louis
to be
Stadlin.
ashamed of yourself. You're too good to suit me. Never watch the show again.
How did you? Was it a little nervous-making to be playing a legend and to know you were going to do this part?
It was very nerve-wracking last night. I think that it was one of the most disconcerting evenings.
Out there.
You all knew that Groucho was there last night, though, did you? That
Yes, the audience gave him an ovation in the middle of the first act. We knew we weren't that good.
No, they thought I was him.
Everybody was preparing me.
Yeah.
Different people were saying, well, you know, Groucho could have mixed feelings about this.
Mm-hmm.
And when he did come back at the end of the show, we asked him how he liked the show, and he said that I loved it because it's a very unusual evening in which...
It was for me.
Yes, where you take...
I paid for the seats.
That's scandalous.
You start off with young children and they progress. So by the end of the show, you're left with 4 degenerates.
Nice.
Louis plays Groucho. Danny Fortis plays Harpo, or Adolf. You know that his name is really Julius.
His name
Julie.
is. I
And he
knew
plays
that.
Julie. And
Julius Henry.
oh, excuse me. And you guess who he is?
I would say Chico.
Irwin Pearl.
Must be Chico.
He has that same
Yeah.
corrupt look that Chico has.
That's what all the girls tell me. They think
Yes, they told him that, too.
Was
He did
Chico
more
the...
business with the chorus in our shows than the other 4 brothers together.
And Alvin Kupperman plays Zeppo, and Guy Rauscher plays. Plays Gummo. Gummo went straight, didn't he? He was the black sheep. He got married. He didn't cheat. Wasn't that? Wasn't Gummo was the agent?
You can be a black sheep and cheat. I don't see any connection between those two.
Well,
no, Chico was the one that had all the guns.
I wonder what was...
I was sort of which brother was which, and
Chico was the. We called him Chico. It's a derivation of chicken. That's where his name comes.
You mean like
chasing
a girl?
the chicks.
Chasing the chicks, yes.
Oh.
In England, they call them
Birds.
birds,
No.
yes, it's
Yeah.
equivalent.
Yeah.
Except there's 3,000 miles difference, and it's very difficult to get to one of them.
When Lucille Ball was here some weeks back, we were talking about the fact that she made a movie with you.
We did room service
Yeah.
together. Yeah.
And she said you were always taking your clothes off, you brothers.
Only at night if we had a girl.
No,
There's
she said
point
you
in
did it as
taking
a
your
joke.
clothes off if there's no women around.
This could be true.
Yeah, there's 5 boys there. I wouldn't take my clothes off.
Glad to hear
Except
that.
the one guy's got my coat on.
You know,
No, this is true. This is true.
it is true.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. I had a very close friend who was getting married. I don't know if any of you people are familiar with Keen's Shop House. It's on Broadway, I don't know, in the 30s or 40s. And they gave him a bachelor party when we were playing on our first Broadway show called I'll Say She Is. And we were invited to the wedding, and obviously we had to give a performance. And we weren't through with the show till around 11 o'clock. So Harpo and I, who were close friends of the groom, had decided then to go to Keen's Chop House and surprise everybody there, which we proceeded to do. We got in the elevator, which was a tiny elevator in that building, and they have no elevator boy or anything. You get in the elevator and you run it yourself. So Harpo and I got in the elevator, and we each had a suitcase and straw hats. This was in the summer. And when we got in the elevator, we locked it, and we took off all our clothes, and we put them in these 2 respective suitcases. Now, the bachelor party was on the 4th floor. When we got to the 4th floor, we stopped the elevator and swung the door open, and we stepped out there, stark naked, with straw hats and the suitcases. Unfortunately, we were on the wrong floor. Because the bride was giving a party for her family. And they were on the 3rd floor. Well, we grabbed a couple of tablecloths off the table and wrapped them around us, and we escaped with our lives. But I noticed the next day they hadn't been married yet, and the bride proposed to me.
Oh, come on now. We have a station break. We'll be right back. That is It's the same fellow you were so fond of.
Still can't count.
Stage manager?
Yes.
Yes. You were amazed that he could count to 10.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most unusual.
Is it?
I
Stage
may
manager?
go on strike. Everybody else in New York is on strike.
That's true.
No,
I think this postal strike may be settled by now. Let me ask Mr. Stadlin something. Have you noticed that my stammer comes back when you're here? I get Jack Parr's stammer. I used to work with him. Mr. Stadlin.
It's nothing unusual. I get a stammer occasionally, too.
Do you really?
Yeah. I think everyone does occasionally. It's a kind of nervousness,
Uh-huh.
which comes from strict poverty.
Good.
Not knowing where your next bread is coming from.
It comes in my case from not being able to talk well. I don't know what I'm going to say next.
Well,
so
that's
I go,
all right.
"Bleh, bleh, bleh."
I have no idea what I'm going to say next either, but you have a brilliant vocabulary. You're probably the best conversationalist of all the
Oh, cut that
late
out.
shows.
May I change the subject for a moment? I wanted to ask Mr. Stadlin
You know, I
about...
can't get anything from you by saying that you're good and talented and clever.
Can't get anything. How do you mean
No,
that?
I mean I can't get it like a piano or a icebox or something.
No, you can't.
I get nothing at all. Like there's some
A
shows,
few jokes.
Spiegel or something, where they give away, I don't know.
They're not allowed to do that anymore.
No?
No, the FCC.
Are you
did.
still giving it?
It's funny, I wasn't listening and I missed something and everybody was laughing. May I ask Mr. Stadlin this question, or can I put it in writing and hand it over to him?
There's a mail strike. Don't be a fink.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Feel free, ask him anything
Well,
you want.
I was interested because they have
I'll
to
go
leave
home.
to find out how he researched you and looked up all the things he needed to know about you, and did he read a lot? And
He did a remarkable job, I must say.
Did he?
But I bet he don't get to do it on this program.
Jump in now. Jump in
You're
now.
sort of a female wise guy, aren't you?
Female.
That's the last
wise
night
guy.
you'll ever be my mother.
Oh, you say that to all the girls.
No, just to the men.
You know, last night I was standing in the wings watching Groucho's face, and I wished I had a camera because he had such mixed feelings. Because and I was standing in the wings, and the stage manager was getting very angry at me because you're not supposed to do that. And he was sitting about the 4th or 5th row, and I even got my eyeglasses out to look because he wanted the show to be successful and good, at which it is funny. And every time Lou came on the stage, his face sort of twitched and it really must be a strange experience to watch somebody. Do you?
It's like being dead and coming back.
You've never seen yourself on a stage, have you? I mean,
I hope not. I've seen myself in the movies.
yeah.
Did they audition you for this part?
For this part, they did, but it was hopeless.
What about? I'm going to try again with Mr. Stadlin and see what happens here.
I don't think anything will happen.
This is what Margaret Dumont must have felt like.
Yes, now we know how she felt.
And there was a time when I felt Mrs. Margaret Dumont.
All right.
Or did we do that already?
They're going to move this show later and later if you keep talking like that.
Yes, it should be.
Well, I'll tell you what Stadlin. I'll tell you what Stadlin was going to say.
Sandler, get up and do something, will you?
What he did was. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
Here's what you were going to say. You were going to say that
extraordinary amount of research.
he did an extraordinary amount of research about it.
Only you said it with stuttering.
Yes, I did.
Go
And
ahead,
then
Patrick
he.
Henry.
What he did was Stadlin, the man over there who can't speak now. He got a monologue together and auditioned as you.
Really?
And he's going to do that monologue for us, or
I'd love to hear
part
it.
of it.
I will.
But what we have to do is... No, please, I mustn't stop. What we have to do is
Could
take
I use it later in Vegas?
He has to get like you. He has to, in other words, transform himself into you. So what we will do now is take a break.
It's like
and
Dr.
when we...
Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Well, it will be if we don't get
Yeah.
to it. And if you'd
Well,
like
let
to...
him jack him and I'll go over and hide.
If you'd like to get your hair clean and bright, if you'd like
What?
to... I say if you'd like to get
If
your...
I had clean hair, do you think I'd be wearing this?
Without getting all wet, do what Gladys does.
Gladys.
Watch.
Great kid, Gladys.
Said it. Shelley, is there any particular way I should introduce him, or just say here's young Groucho Marx?
Lou Stadlin, who is a brilliant actor in his portrayal of Groucho Marx and
All right.
Winnie's Boys.
Don't you want to use his name? Standler, isn't it?
Louis Stadlin.
And here he is.
Emily, I love you. Because you're the master. And even if you're the plug, I'll accept the charges. Maestro? Well, you may not play like Beethoven, but you got his ear.
Now you know why I'm retiring from the theater.
You'll have to admit that's remarkable.
It's an extraordinary
I mean, a
impersonation.
lot of people imitate you, but that really has you.
This is true. It's unfortunate, but there's nothing wrong with it.
Incidentally, Lou's accompanist was a famous concert pianist.
Well, he said you got over it.
Elliot Finkel, in case he wants to be identified after that remark. Elliot Finkel.
Elliot
yes.
Finkel? Well, that's the way he sounded.
Okay. What did they do if one of you got sick? Did you have any understudies?
We used to throw up. Are you talking to me?
I mean, after that, Did you have understudies then after?
Well, you were talking to me then?
I meant you, yes. I mean, when the brothers were.
Well, what did you do when you got sick?
Well, I didn't have that problem, but I mean,
You didn't get throw up? You never threw up?
I threw up several times, but it was not the same because
Some of my best friends spend most of their time throwing up.
I'd like to meet
Especially
them.
when I'm around.
Groucho, tell me truly, really, how did Minnie, your mother, handle all these boys who were obviously a handful?
Completely ignored us. She put us out in the street and let us play, that's all. And when we got hungry, we went in the house.
But when you all went on the road...
She was busy.
What was she
My
doing?
mother, well, she had to clean the house and cook a pot of bean soup and a smoked tongue or whatever we were having, depending on how much money my father brought home. And he rarely brought home any money. Because he was the world's worst tailor. He never would use a tape measure. He was too proud. That's not a joke, that's true.
You'd estimate?
If he had a customer in there, would you mind standing? Can you stand?
He's all right.
Come out here.
He plays harpo, that's dead.
I'd stand there. Okay, that's fine. I got you.
Sit down.
3 weeks later, the suit had come. One pants leg would be up to here. Would be a mini pants. And the other expressions are. And neither the coat would fit. Usually didn't have buttons. And you see, the big problem here is that Chico was a congenital gambler and compulsive. He couldn't avoid gambling. When Chico died, he didn't have a penny. Somebody once said to him, "How much money has Harpo got?" No, somebody said to him, "How much money has Chico lost gambling?" He says, "You find out how much Harpo and Groucho have got. That's how much I've lost." And that was true. He wasn't trying to be funny. As a matter of fact, the last 3 or 4 pictures we made, we had to do it to keep Chico back in money again at MGM, because he never had any money. He was either at the racetrack or in a crap game or someplace. He had no sense about money. He spent it as he got it. Now, I don't know, he may have been better off than we are, because I've saved my money. That's why I'm on the show for nothing. I can afford to be on this show. My father never got the same customer twice. I must tell you a brief story, which isn't in the show. There was a fellow on First Avenue, around 88th Street or something in New York, that had a confectionery store. And he was a devout Catholic, and he was getting a suit made by my father for Easter, which was the following day. I mean, the suit was finished, and he had empowered me to take the package over to the confectionery store, and he was so delighted to see me, and he gave me a chocolate soda, and I was sitting on the counter there with that nickel chocolate soda. I was having a wonderful time. And finally, this confectioner, whose name was Stuckfish, you wouldn't believe this. This was his name, and he came out and bellowed as loud as he could. He says, "Where's the pants? There's no pants here." And what happened was that Chico had opened this package the night before and taken the pants out and hocked them on 88th Street. Well, there's no more to the story, but he had them... And there was no more to the pants, because about 2 weeks later, Stuckfish, he went around to all the hock shops in Yorkville, and he finally found them in a window. This big, broad pants sticking out like this. And he gave Chico a pretty good beating with a whisk broom. That was his idea of punishing. He always used a whisk broom, and he would never really hit you with it. He would put it up close, like here. He'd put it up close to your face, but he'd never touch it. And you finally have gotten such a stage, such a nervous condition, you'd say, "For God's sakes, hit me with the thing." But he couldn't. He was too soft on it. Anyhow. You know, we didn't have enough time to put all the experiences of the Marx Brothers in this play. But I saw it last night for the first time, and I must say I was delighted with the show. I think it's going to be a big hit.
I hope it is.
I recommend it.
Be comfortable there. We'll be right back. Stay where you are. We'll be back in a minute.
I own no part of this show.
You own no part? Groucho, what was the story about
It's not true.
No, when you were on the road.
Yes.
There's a story about a lady and a baby carriage or something that you met,
Yes.
and no one would tell me the story, but they said to ask you about it.
It's rather interesting. We used to pick up girls after each performance.
No.
You know, we'd roam the town like Muncie. This happened to be Muncie, Indiana. And there was a young girl around 20 years old. She was wheeling a baby carriage.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped and I said, "It's a very pretty baby you got there." She says, "Oh, are you with the show here in town, the vaudeville show?" Because we dressed a little better than the natives of Muncie, Indiana. Or even Cincinnati.
I see.
Well, maybe not Cincinnati. At any rate, it was a very attractive little baby, and she didn't look bad either. A lovely pair of gams.
Gams?
Gams. That's an old-fashioned word for legs.
Uh-huh.
You know, I remember an actress once in Hollywood. She was kind of a pretty flashy dame, and she wore an ankle around the here.
A little bracelet?
A little bracelet. And on it said, "Heavens Above." And I thought that was so wonderful.
Heavens above.
It's true. And I have subscribed to that theory for years.
There's no humor like that anymore. We left the
Well,
lady
they
with...
should be, yes. Anyway, she says, "You're with the show." "I'm going tonight." I said, "Where are you going now?" She said, "Oh, I'm taking the baby for a walk." I said, "Are you the mother?" She says, "Yes." Mm-hmm. She was lying, like most women. And she lived in a one-story house. It's kind of an old-fashioned Midwestern shack. And she invited me upstairs, and I went upstairs. I was smoking a big cigar. And she put the baby to sleep, and then I was sitting on the couch with her. And I was doing fairly well, considering I was smoking while I was kissing her. And what I didn't know is that her husband was a coal miner. And he wore one of those hats with a lamp in the front. Like they used to in those towns. These were all coal towns. And she wasn't too hot either by this time. At any rate, I was sitting with her, and nothing, you know, just my arm around her and kissing her and smoking. It was lovely sitting there. The baby was asleep, and suddenly I hear the footsteps coming up to the first floor. And she says, "My husband, you told me this was your sister's baby." She says, "It isn't. It's my husband's baby." I says, "Well, what'll I do?" She says, "Well, run in the closet there." There was a closet right there. I ran in the closet, and there were about raincoats in there and heavy coats and ulsters and all kinds of miscellaneous clothing. And in my excitement, I had left a cigar on the couch where I'd been making love to this girl.
Your cigar was right in plain sight?
Yes, it was right there on the couch. So he comes in, he smells cigar smoke. He says, "You got somebody in here?" She says, "Well, you know I wouldn't do that. You know I'm a happily married woman." So he said, "I'm going to search this place, and if there's anybody here, I'll kill him." This is not the ideal way to make love. Now he starts. He first goes in the kitchen, and I grabbed the cigar, and I took that with me in the closet. Now he comes back, and he says, "There was a cigar there a minute ago. Where is it? There's somebody in this place, and I'll kill him if I can find him." He opens the closet door there, and I don't know, you better feel him. And he felt me, you know, all over. I could feel his hands on me, but he couldn't see me. It was dark in the closet there. I was shivering like this. So he finally goes back in the kitchen. "I'm going to find that guy. It was the last thing I do." And I jumped out of the first-story window and got back to the theater. So, well, that's all there was to it, but I could have been killed by a coal miner in Muncie, Indiana. And that isn't the way I wanted to end my life.
No,
Because I had notions that I was going to succeed in show business eventually, and then I wouldn't be killed by a coal miner.
What went through your mind when the guy's hands were...
Well, it's pretty hard to say. It's about 45 years ago.
Yeah,
But,
must have been terrifying.
Oh, I was terrified.
Yeah.
Holly, they had a tough time getting me to go on the stage that evening, the other boys. I told them about this experience, but they were proud of me that I escaped.
Did that teach you to be more prudent?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think it made me more daring. Had I been killed that afternoon, I would have been more prudent.
What about that problem of
this was all actors had this problem on the road. We had no girls except a few in the act. By this time, we were familiar with the girls in the act. We didn't pay any more attention to them.
You'd run out of conversation.
We were looking for fresh stuff in these towns. And there was an old saying that when the actors come to town, hide the daughters.
Especially in Muncie, Indiana.
No, in all towns. This was true. Actors had no standing at all during those days. It's not like it is today. An actor's a big wheel. He can go in any place. But in those days, you couldn't. I must tell you a story about Goody Ace. You got time for this? Goody Ace, I don't know if you know who he is. He writes for a very prominent magazine. What's the name of it?
Saturday
Literary
Review.
Digest or something.
He writes for the Saturday Review, I think.
Saturday Review.
He used to write for Milton Berle.
That's right. And he also wrote, he wrote for a lot of
and many
Easy
others.
Aces.
Yeah.
He was a brilliant guy. At any rate, we had lunch one day on Madison Avenue, and there was about 20 people standing in line for lunch. And Goody says to me, tell the proprietor who you are and we can get in right away. I said, well, I can't do that. These other people are standing in line. I'm going to stand in line with them. So the head waiter came out and he recognized me. I was doing the quiz show then. He says, Groucho, what are you doing standing in line? I said, I'm waiting to go and have lunch. So he says, come on in. I have a table for you. And that fellow you were there, whoever he is, he had no idea who he was. Mm-hmm. So we went inside and I was sitting down and Goody Ace was grousing. I don't know how well you know him. He says, I don't understand this. I've written for every prominent magazine. I lecture at colleges. I've had my own shows and Broadway plays and everything. And here you come along and you get a table immediately. I says, Goody, don't you understand it? You have talent, there's no doubt about it. But actually, you're a nonentity. You couldn't get in any place without me. And it spoiled his whole lunch, and he never got over that.
I think it would.
Well,
it's terrible to find out that
actually, he was a nonentity.
Yeah.
And I kept insisting on this. But we're very close friends.
Even in spite of that kind of treatment, you're close friends. Yes, you're very rough on your friends, but they come back for more and they find you funnier and funnier.
Well, I question that, but...
well, that's what they say. Harry Ruby, you insult him mercilessly, and...
Yes, I do, but he requires it.
We have to pause. We'll be right back. Shelley, tell us what we're about to...
Well, you're going to see my sons. I mean, his brothers.
Mm-hmm.
When they were very young, and this is really before they became the Marx brothers, as
they were the Ritz brothers, then.
Known in the movies. And as a matter of fact, they don't really have the costumes that they were later so famous for till the end of the show, just before they did I'll Say She Is. Mm-hmm. But we were stranded in Nacogdoches, Texas, and the boys got together a school act, which was what kids did in those days, and the boys are going to do a little excerpt from it from the show.
Great.
For you.
Go.
Order, order. This class will come to order. I said order, you order.
Make a mine a meatball soup with a Tootsie Fruitsy sauce. Hold the mayo.
You know, I ought to join a club and hit you over the head with it. Now, first subject is geography. Ravelli, what's the shape of the world?
I don't know. I'm from out of town.
Well, what's the shape of my cufflinks?
Square?
Not these, the ones I wear on Sundays.
Round.
Now, what's the shape of the world?
Square on the weekdays, round on the Sundays.
You know you're revolting.
No, I'm revolting. He's disgusting. Well, nice to meet you, Mr. Revolting.
Teacher, teacher.
Yeah, what is it, Oppo?
Teacher, what's a yet?
A yet?
Yeah, it said in the newspaper that Mrs. Throckmorton was shot in her apartment last night, and the bullet is in her yet.
And that's what they call freedom of the press.
Soap, 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 soap,
Hey,
soap.
wait a minute. What do you think you guys are doing?
We just thought we'd sing a couple of bars.
Oh, sometimes I think I must be going mad. Now, enough of this. It's time to test the vocabulary. Ravelli? What's a corpuscle?
That's easy. First there's a captain, then a lieutenant, then a corpuscle.
You know you have the brain of a 4-year-old child, and I bet he was glad to get rid of it. Enough of these easy subjects. Harpo, recite the alphabet.
A. That's so good.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful, but what comes after A?
W. W?
Well, I'll give you a little hint. What buzzes around and makes honey from flowers?
A B. A B.
Yeah, that's excellent, but what comes after B?
O. Not O. X.
Well, I'll give you another hint. What's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
You nasty teach.
Gummo wasn't in that.
Well, we put him
Gummo
in.
was lucky.
Yeah.
No, Gummo was, yes, Gummo was in the school, right? Of course he was.
Was he really?
Yes. Yeah.
We never got.
I remember we had one joke in there that I don't hear now when they do the schoolwork.
Mm-hmm.
Is where he says, name the principal parts of a cat.
Yeah.
And he says eyes, ears, nose, feet, tail. He says, yeah, and I say to him, he isn't looking at me, he's looking out that way. And I'm the teacher and I'm in backup. I say, what has a cat got here that you haven't got? He says, oh, kittens.
How far did that get you?
It got us
from Texas to Missouri.
Nacogdoches.
Nacogdoches. I remember reading about you in Nacogdoches. You didn't have a good time there.
No, we got arrested for playing casino on the porch of the hotel on Sunday. They had those big verandas in those days in the South. Also used for lynching. It was a very handy place, and we were playing cards for nothing because we didn't have any money. Yeah. And the sheriff came along and pinched us. Pinched each of us individually.
Oh, I see.
It was one of the best sheriffs I ever saw.
Okay. I get a straight answer out of you. Did you ever play the White House, incidentally?
Yes, I did. I played the White House. I had a long talk with Eleanor Roosevelt. And while I was talking to her in the White House, this Marine band was playing in the courtyard down there. And they were playing all those old Sousa marches, you know. And I said, Mrs. Roosevelt, now I know why you keep traveling all the time.
Did she find you amusing?
Yes, she did. We were all there. It was Bob Hope and Pat O'Brien and Cary Grant and Cagney. And practically all the biggest. We raised $300 million in bonds.
Jeez.
This was for
During
the
the Second
World War, yes.
What were the worst places on the road to travel?
The war
to visit?
itself, I think.
But were there any particular towns that you dreaded?
No, it was a lot. We had a lot of fun. We had our own private train and a lot of beautiful girls on there.
Your own train?
Who were in the
He
show.
meant in the USO.
On the USO tour you had your own train?
Yes, no, I
Yeah.
wasn't on the battlefield then. I was later when I got home to my wife, but no, we had Joan Blondell and we had I
Yes.
can't think of all the women that we had in the show, but we had all the legendary beauties that were in Hollywood at
He
the
doesn't
time.
mean it in the biblical sense.
No, of course not. When you said the battlefield, your
I
counterparts.
wanna ask, well, I did some biographical material. I read a lot of it, and in the Crichton book, which is a very good book on the Marx Brothers, they speak of a time when you went for your army physical in World War I, and they said that all the brothers, with the exception of Gummo, were rejected.
Was in the army.
Yes, he was in the army, but
He
they
just
said
got
that
out a few days ago. He's taking no chances.
when the inspector, it's just a little line in the book. It said when the inspector saw you when you took your clothes off, he recoiled in horror.
I do that every night.
We have to recoil in
I
horror.
got to
Wait a
say
minute.
one line. One
Okay,
line.
say it.
I was in the office of a general. This was in the Korean War. And I was playing camps and hospitals and like everybody does today. And the phone rang, and I picked it up, and I said, Third World War. And hung up.
You're the one, you originated that?
Yes.
That's been stolen many times.
I don't mind.
Dick, this conversation will lead me right into the audition I did for this show, the song that I sang. Well, he did his audition and after your commercial.
What are chances of getting you to do that after this
Yeah.
message? Okay, we'll be right back. See you later. No, I know. Miss Winters is going to do the song that she did to audition for this show, and during the break, Groucho said, I bet when she sings it now, she loses the part. But anyway, here she is.
You know, for various union reasons, we can't do some of the beautiful music that's from the show that Steve Lawrence and many people have recorded. Larry Grossman and Hal Haggerty, who are here, who wrote it, and Arthur Marx and Bob Fisher and Joe Stein, who wrote the book. I don't know if they're here or not, but the show is really one of the most extraordinary things that I've ever been involved in, and I love doing it. It's great. And this is what I did for our producer, Arthur Whitelaw.
I'd like to ask you one question.
Yes, dear.
Isn't it customary these days when you try out for a part, you take your clothes off?
Well, I'll be at television first. A million boys to the war. Are you want me to sing? This is a song from World War I. A million boys to the war have gone, who may never return again. A million mothers' hearts must break for the ones who died in vain. Let each mother answer in the years to be. Remember that my boys belong to me. I didn't raise my boy to be a soldier. I brought him up to be my pride and joy. Who dares to place a musket on his shoulder to shoot some other mother's darling boy? Let nations arbitrate their future troubles. It's time to throw the sword and guns away. There'd be no wars today if mothers all would say, I didn't raise my boy to be a soldier.
Enough.
Certainly glad to get rid of that guy playing Groucho.
Thought they'd never leave, eh?
Yeah, I thought they'd be here permanently. How much time you got?
Well, we have time. We have to take a break here, and then we'll talk some more. Let us go away and come right back.
You
Stay
want
where
me
you
to
are.
sing like
oh,
a
yeah. Would you? Groucho, we have to be over here. This is the part of the show where Groucho was going to sing Tit Willow.
Mr. Cavett is an old Gilbertian scholar.
No, you are.
And he insists on singing this song.
Oh, come on now. You roped me into doing this.
When did I rope you?
We'll see when it.
Are you referring to the cigar that I roped you?
No, I'm not. You said, would I sing this with you? And I said no, and you said, please, your heart would break if I didn't.
Did you ever think of marrying me?
How long do I have to decide? Wait.
9 months.
You start and I'll come in.
On a tree.
I can't get up that high.
Get you in. On a tree by a river, a little tomtit sang willow, tit willow, titwillow. And I said to him, Dickie Bud, why do you sit singing willow, titwillow, titwillow? Is it weakness of intellect, Buddy, I cried, or a rather tough word in your little inside? With a shake of his poor little head, he replied, oh, willow, titwillow, titwillow. Master.
See, it's hard for me to get my voice up as high as yours. He slapped at his chest as he sat on that bough,
Real highbrow stuff.
singing willow, titwillow, titwillow. They're not with me. And a cold perspiration bespangled, thank you, his brow. Oh, willow, titwillow, titwillow. He sobbed and he sighed and a gurgle he gave. Then he plunged himself into the billowy wave. And an echo arose from the suicide's grave. Oh, willow. Willow.
Frighten the hell out of me. Now I feel just as sure as I'm sure that my name is in willow, titwillow, titwillow. That 'twas blighted affection that made him exclaim, oh, willow, titwillow, titwillow. And if you remain callous and obdurate, just a moment. Is there anyone in the audience that knows what obdurate means? Is there really? No, I'm serious about this. What's the point of singing a song? What does it mean? That's right, it's stubborn. Who said that? One literate agent in the audience. Okay, then I'll continue. And if you remain callous and obdurate, shall perish as he did, and you will know why. Though I probably shall not exclaim when I die. Oh, willow,
titwillow, titwillow.
Gilbert and Sullivan sung anymore anyways. It's unfortunate that it isn't. But it was interesting to know that out of this audience of roughly 100 or 150 people...
300.
300. This is not the Nielsen. I
know, it's larger.
It is nice to know that there was one person in the audience that knew what obdurate meant. And I hope you'll all go home tonight and read Gilbert and Sullivan. It'll do you good. Did it go over?
Groucho, we have only a few seconds left, and I'd just like to say it's great having you here. And we will, long may the show wave, and there's nobody like you. You're the only Groucho Marx.
This is true. Now, shall I tell him?
Oh, all right. Oh, no, you can't tell them now. Oh, yeah, you can tell them. Go ahead.
Can
Yeah. Oh, no, you can't tell them. Wait a minute. You tell me and I'll tell them, and we'll say goodnight now, and I'll tell you what he told me.